I declare open this hearing of the Public Accounts and Estimates Committee. I ask that mobile telephones please be turned to silent. I begin by acknowledging the traditional Aboriginal owners of the land on which we are meeting, the lands of the Wurundjeri people. We pay our respects to them, their elders past, present and emerging, as well as elders from other communities who may be here with us today. On behalf of the Parliament, the committee is conducting this inquiry into the 2025-26 budget estimates. The committee's aim is to scrutinise public administration and finance to improve outcomes for the Victorian community.
Minister, last week you were quoted as saying there are billions of dollars of new gas investment scheduled in Victoria for this year alone. Could you tell us which investments you would have been referring to specifically? Could you walk us through a breakdown of those?
I'll list them if that's what you're asking. So Esso Woodside proponent, it's the Kipper expansion, that's in Commonwealth waters. Esso Woodside Tarum expansion, that's in Commonwealth waters. Amplitude Energy, OG Energy. I don't know if you want the actual figures of investment, but
that would be great if you can. Yeah.
Well, the first one was $200 million. The second was $350. Amplitude Energy, as I mentioned, OG Energy, that's Commonwealth waters, 500 mil. There is ConocoPhillips 3D Energy Korean National Oil Corporation, that is $100 million, Commonwealth waters. Then there's Golden Beach, that's an energy storage project, offshore, and that in Victorian offshore, and that's about $900 million.
Is that the exhaustive list that you've just given?
Oh, these are ones that are just in the last 12 months, I think, roughly.
Can I ask about the new gas import terminal for Corio Bay?
Yes,
so
sure.
Victoria, as you know, historically has exported gas to other states. Can I clarify, does this mean through this project we're going to continue exporting gas to those other states while also importing gas through this terminal?
Now, this terminal is a proposal that has received planning approval. We also know that it's one of several potential regasification terminals that are discussed, if you like, are in the mix, including, I think there's one in South Australia. We know the Port Kembla one is effectively kitted out. I think what's important to understand here is that the market is such that the market operator, so they're responsible for ensuring we've got sufficient gas to meet our needs, has said that from 2029 there needs to be some additional sources of gas found that is beyond what is known to be in the mix or coming online. Okay, they will have a role in fixing what is said by them to be a structural deficit gap, if you like, shortfall from 29. It got pushed out from 28 to 29, which is good, and that is simply it's not a matter of, you know, you're just bringing gas, whether it's through a terminal or whether it's through improved pipeline capacity, because it's not necessarily going to be one or the other. That's an open question for the market and the market operator to work their way through. What's important is that right now the market operator is saying, with all of what is known to them and the market, through all the market intelligence, that there will be a structural shortfall in 29, and something has to change to make sure that there's enough gas to meet domestic needs, whether it's in Victoria, New South Wales, South Australia. In fact, it's all of those states and South Australia. So the notion that somehow Victoria will continue to export but yet bring in some other gas from somewhere else, that's not the issue. The issue is that there is a structural shortfall. So when you take collectively all of the gas that is needed to meet the demand that is expected in 2029, there is that gap. And the market operator needs to move to, in one way or another, ensure that that gap can be filled.
Minister,
a lot of people are going to have very cold winters, and we're going to see that hypothermia problem and all of these other matters grow and bills go through the roof.
Can I ask, Minister, in your assessment, for how long into the future do you anticipate Victoria will be importing gas into our state?
Importing gas, did you say? Yeah. Well, we're not importing gas now, not in a net sense. But we know that the market operator, ACCC, they all understand that, and it's been reported on now for a number of years, that the resource that has been available for many decades that we've benefited from in terms of the economic side of things is depleting. We will have to see how the market evolves. That's the reality of it. But can I say what's also really important is that Victoria has been the net exporter, and in fact we've propped up the other states now for the last 10 years. You know, we've provided 60% of the Eastern Australia's gas needs, and that's a significant amount of gas. There are a number of ways to deal with these types of issues of tight supply, if you like, is what the market operator is looking at doing with proposals that are out there. But it's also on the demand side. How do we reduce people's consumption? Because whatever the energy is, whether it's gas or electricity, whatever its source, we're all going to benefit if we use less of it because we're doing things differently, because that saves money on bills.
And you did definitely canvass that earlier. Can I ask, just moving on, our own climate laws state we need to hit net zero by 2045.
Well,
is
that's
there any...
what our government has proactively said.
Yes. Can I ask...
We led that charge.
Is there any modelling or data that you can provide that shows that we can get to net zero in 20 years while still approving and extending gas work?
Well, this is, well, I can answer that really simply. This is where, if I can say, and I'm not attributing this to you, Abby, but this is where the falsehood lies, that somehow taking one particular action somehow means that we are not going to meet our emissions targets. What I can say to you clearly is that demand for residential gas in Victoria has decreased. Right? In 2022-23, residential gas demand in Victoria fell by 13.5%. And then in 2023-24, it fell by a further 4.5%. It's projected to fall even more in the next 5 years, forecast to decline by not a percentage, but petajoules, which is big, to decline by 18.5 petajoules over the next 5 years. So that is a significant reduction in emissions. So you've got to take all of the government's actions collectively to understand how we are tracking in terms of our commitments around emissions reductions, and we are tracking and we are on track. So the falsehoods that somehow you do one action over here without considering everything else that a government has done when we're talking about net emissions reductions is very misleading, very mischievous, and causes unnecessary anxiety to people who understand and appreciate, and that's most of the Victorian community, that we have to take concrete action on climate change, and that's exactly what we're delivering, and we will continue to do that.
Thank you, Minister. Can I ask, what's the current status of the hydrogen energy supply chain project?
I think it's the same status as it has been every year that you've asked me or your predecessors have asked me, so it's not really developed.
Okay, just further from that, I understood that the viability of CarbonNet, the carbon capture project, may have been reliant on the HESC, but given the status of the HESC, Japanese partner pulling out, what impact do you foresee the HESC falling over may have on the viability of CarbonNet?
I have no comment to make on that, and what I can say is that, as I've said in the past, you know, these are exploratory, they're experimental, and they've got to be proven up.
It was announced that as of 1 July 2025, 5% of Victoria's electricity market would be powered by the SEC. Can I ask what percentage of the state's energy will be from renewable sources owned by the SEC?
Owned by the SEC. Well, look, I can't give you that figure, but we've been very clear that our commitment was that there would be a retailer of 100% electricity to government entities from the 1st of July, and that's what we're delivering.
Can I get your assessment, Minister? Do you anticipate that the owned percentage of the total renewable sources to the SEC will increase over the estimates?
what our commitment has been is that over the entire portfolio that the SSC will invest in between now and 2035, 4.5 gigawatt of new capacity of renewables, that the SSC will be a majority shareholder over all of the assets. There will be, it depends on the assets, the investments, each individual investment. That may sort of go up and down a little bit, but over the entire portfolio of 4.5 gigawatt, it would be a majority.
Minister, has the government modelled the cost for the SEC providing solar panels to schools and hospitals?
I don't believe so, no. I mean, the first priority of the SSC is to acquit the election commitments that we undertook, and that's what the focus is. Of course, the key focus is for the SSC to continue to invest in, to get to their 4.5 gigawatt. However, they are looking at the next iteration of diversifying, if you like, their offering, and that is to become a retailer to businesses from later in the year.
Just moving on again, in light of the solar battery no interest loan program ending via solar homes, do you anticipate the SEC will pick up the slack in cutting cost of batteries?
Excuse me. Well, you mentioned the loans for batteries ending. As it concluded, all those rebates were out. We more than achieved our targets. The federal government obviously has got a program of providing significant discounts of batteries. But can I just say that I would imagine that the SSC would be potentially considering these types of offerings together with the other behind the meter offering. So it's not impossible, but it's part of their consideration, and they'll need to work up their business case and part of their business plan as they go. So, but what will be important is that the one-stop shop will be a critical entry in for Victorians to be able to understand. As I said earlier, even the federal government rebates and discounts will be available at that one-stop shop. So the SSC will be able to help people, even indirectly, to be able to get the benefits of those programs.
Minister, did our emissions go down last year?
Now, the emissions that were reported are part of an independent process that was reported to us. I think those emissions were from last year or the year before that were reported. So those emissions, the report for that 2022-23 period showed that there had been a small increase in Victoria's emissions between 22 and 23. All of that, or most of that, was due to something that no one can control, and that is the carbon emissions in soil. And that was that led to a short-term increase, and that was caused by the wetter La Nina season, the conditions. There was a small amount also within transport emissions, it also increasing as more people return to pre-pandemic travel patterns, if you like. So they were the explanation for that slight increase, and that happened across, I think that happened in all of the states. But the fact is, the trend is there, and looking at 1 year in isolation is not necessarily a good way to consider what the trend is.
I declare this hearing adjourned.